Welcome to Community Connections with Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County. I'm just one of your hosts, Sean Boyle, with me is
Ashley Mock.
And welcome to the half-hour radio program that airs every Sunday at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Flame. And if you're listening on the radio, you're obviously like, well, duh, Sean, we know that. But we say that because this month, as we do every month, we are in the WLX Horizon television studio to make this little radio show also a TV show, thanks to a wonderful, wonderful partnership with St. Lucie Public Schools. If you're wondering what WLX Horizon is, jump on your cable provider, look up WLX Horizon. It is the St. Lucie Public School channel. And if you're like, Sean, I don't have time for that, jump on YouTube, look up WLX Horizon St. Lucie. You will find all the St. Lucie County programming, including this radio show that, dare I say, the videos go back 9+ years.
Oh, I know. 9 years. A long time. Sometimes we don't remember how long, but at least that's there tracked for us.
Right. I looked 20 years younger back 9 years ago. So you figure that out. But welcome to the show. It's all about connecting you, the listener, and the viewer this month to resources and great things that are available for children and families in our great community we call St. Lucie County. Now, we at the Children's Services Council, despite 9 years of practice, not media professionals, not radio show professionals, certainly not television professionals, but what we do at the Children's Services Council is 5 things for our community, and those 5 things are: 1, making sure every baby's a healthy baby. Feel free to count with me. 2, stopping child abuse before it happens. 3, keeping kids off the streets. 4, keeping them in school. And 5, keeping them off drugs, alcohol, and other risky behaviors. And we address these priorities by developing and funding and working with wonderful partners to offer these services to our community.
You are hand gesturing to our guests, but nobody can see that if they're just listening to the radio.
That's all right. I was trying to get them to count with me. I could see they were counting in their eyes.
Yes. I like it. So obviously this show is a great way to learn more about the programs and the fun things that are happening in our community. But we have a couple other ways that you can learn about them too. Sean brought props today. So for our viewing audience, we have a family guide to programs that we publish every year. This is a comprehensive list of every program that we work with in the community, along with their contact information. And for the programs that are location-based, like our after-school programs, address information is also listed in here. Now, I have great news. We've talked about this for the last few months, but I finally have translated copies of this family guide in English, or I'm sorry, this is English, in Spanish, Creole, and Portuguese. And so we are really excited to be able to have those to offer out into the community. You will be able to get them on our website as well. But as soon as those printed copies are in our hands, we will let you guys know, so that if you do have a population that could benefit from accessing that information in multiple languages, you can get to that through us as well.
And if you're interested in getting some of these for your employees, your staff, your place of worship, your civic group, we are more than happy to come out and bring them to you. Just call us. I know some people still use the phone, 772-408-1100. But if you're like Sean, Ashley, it is now 2023. Who does paper anymore? As Ashley mentioned, you can go to our website. All that information's on there.
And I will give a shout out. I think we brought this up a couple of weeks ago. You said someone asked us for some recently, and we couldn't remember who it was. It was New Horizons.
Oh, okay.
It was the Children's Behavioral Health Unit at New Horizons. And so John was able to get some to them. And if you are interested in that, we can bring some to you as well.
You know, let me, for those of you who don't like paper, let me tell you the advantage of having a paper copy. Because when you're meeting with a family, and you're like, you know, I think you should call this place and this place, what you can do is you can write on it and can say, families of the Treasure Coast, make sure you ask for Kim or Henry.
I love your foresight.
So that's the advantage of a paper copy.
It is really helpful, and I will say too, we've got great feedback on this version of it. We have had multiple iterations of the family guide. This is probably my favorite because it is small, it is easy to carry around, it's easy for our programs to carry around. We know that they use them frequently as well. So please let us know if you are interested in these. We'll make sure you get some.
I'm going to do a weird segue here, but I promise you're all tied together. So you and I have both been around long enough to know that this program guide at one point was 60+ pages in a booklet form.
That's correct.
Which sounds wonderful, had multiple languages, and it was very descriptive. It's great until you do events, and you have to carry 6 boxes with you. And hope that everybody takes them, because you don't want to carry those 6 boxes back, and those boxes weigh 30 pounds apiece. And I say that because you have been around long enough to know that, correct?
I have.
Which leads me to that today is January 10th, 2023. 23, and I know we're not supposed to date the shows, but this is important because this is not only January 10th, 2023, and we're blessed to be in the studio, but also it is your, dare I say, and this is weird because she started when she was 12. So,
Right.
It is Ashley's 17th anniversary at the Children's Services Council. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that math tracks. I'm only 30, so.
Well, if you did the math, I set you up at 29. So,
Well, I had to get some practice in there, you know. So
but in sincerity, I wrote this on my Facebook page, not that I think that you read it, but in life, there are people and things that are either elevators or anchors, right? Either bring you up or bring you down. And you, hands down, not only for myself, for the team, for the community, and all of our partners, you are definitely an elevator because you always bring people up. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. I feel very lucky to be in the position that I'm in the community that I grew up in. You know that's super important to me. And I don't have any intention of going anywhere, so you're stuck with me.
Which is good because when she came in today, she had to sign the guest book, and that was really another 15-year extension to her time at Children's Services.
It all makes sense now.
Yes, I'll put it all together.
I see what happens there.
But speaking of social media, you know, if you want to kill 10 minutes or waste your entire evening, 3 hours down a rabbit hole, make sure that you jump on, dare I say, Book a Face, or Facebook as it's more commonly known. Look up Children's Services Council, St. Lucie County. There are other Children's Services Council. While we like those, we really particularly love our community's Children's Services Council, your Children's Services Council. Like and follow our page. We post on there nearly every day, including this person's picture today to wish her a happy anniversary. And if you want to be daring, and if maybe you're a little bit younger, if you're like Sean, I ain't got time for Facebook because I'm in my 30s and 40s, and I get it. Jump on Instagram. And I found out, by the way, and we keep talking about this, young people don't use Instagram.
No.
So Instagram is for those millennials. The millennials are on Instagram. The Gen X and baby boomers are on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a...
To get to the younger kids, we'll ask Henry later.
We'll do a survey later. No, but truthfully, you know, we try to bring the information in several different ways. Obviously, this show is one of them, and probably the most engaging, most entertaining for sure. But if there is a question that you have, or if there is a resource that you are looking for that you're trying to help someone with, please don't hesitate to reach out to us in any one of those places. We also have several team members that are very active out in the community, so you can certainly walk up to them at an event and ask questions. Just don't go through your days thinking that there aren't programs and resources to help you and your family, because we know that there absolutely are, and we want to make sure that you have the information to carry with you and to be that connection for someone else as well.
And really, and then I'll stop talking and we'll get to our guests. That's the whole point of the show, right? We bring resources on and we talk to you about what to expect when you call, because as you mentioned, sometimes the hardest thing to do on that journey is to ask for help. And so that's why we bring these guests on. And I will also remind everybody, it's the new year. And our guest and I were having a conversation with how many people we know that have been struggling with, whether it be anxiety or just stress or whatever. But if you ever need somebody to talk to, if you are at your wit's end, it doesn't matter if it's 2 in the afternoon or 2 a.m. When you're on Facebook, 2 a.m. If you need somebody to talk to, just remember that, is it 988? Is our crisis line. If you know somebody that's struggling, and just give them that number, 988. There's somebody manned 24 hours a day to talk to them and help them out no matter what their needs are.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 2 wonderful guests that are here.
We do. They're, you know, dare I say, some of our favorite people. Probably shouldn't state that publicly, but here we are.
And I totally bombed one of the person's, I assume, a social media post.
You did.
I'm hoping it didn't go on Instagram or Facebook.
Oh, I think he totally blasted you. That's totally fine. No, we have an incredible partnership with Families of the Treasure Coast. Sean sort of dropped some little hints that they might be our guests today. But I feel like we start every year with Kim and Families of the Treasure Coast, which is a really good place to start, I think, because they do so much for parents in our community, for families in our community. And so I know we have a lot of things that we want to talk about today. I will I will go on record and say we will not get to all of them.
Right.
So this will be your reminder that you need to follow up with Families of the Treasure Coast after you listen to this show to get the rest of the information. But this will be a good introduction for any of you who maybe don't know Kim and Henry and the Families of the Treasure Coast team, because I promise you, you will see them out somewhere this year. That is a promise I can make.
If you're watching it on YouTube on your computer, open up another browser, go on Facebook, look up Families of the Treasure Coast, and you are going to be blown away at that content.
Yes, that is true. So Kim, for maybe, I don't know that anyone doesn't know, but maybe somebody doesn't know, talk to us about Families of the Treasure Coast and what you guys are doing in the community, and then we'll get to some of those details about the fun things that are happening.
So I just want to, if you don't know about us, let's start there. So we are an organization that really prides ourselves on being there for every stage of our family's growth and our parents' growth. And we want to be a relationship builder with our families. We don't want to just provide services, just provide resources. We want to be there from birth until those children graduate and beyond, because we know parenting never ends, as Sean and I can both attest to. But in doing that, we want to make sure the parents are supported. A lot of our programs are more prevention programs. So we have our child abuse prevention program, which is our people empowering people. And then we also have our keeping kids off, well, you want to say it with me, drugs, alcohol, and other risky behaviors, which is our parenting community connection program. And with that has our other parenting courses, redirecting children's behavior and the secrets of modern parenting. But I really want to move away from calling them courses and workshops. And I want people to understand that these are just tools and tips. And it comes with relationships and educators that really do have compassion for what you're doing, because all of us have children, our parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. In some way or form, we're all going through these steps with your children, with our children. And we want to have those connections with you. We don't want it to feel like you're coming to a government place, an institution. We want people to feel that they have a friend, a true friend that they can reach out to. And we also have our parent warm line for that, which I have a little story I hope we can get to about that recently happened.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, and I mean, I have seen you and your team out in the community sharing that information enough to know that it doesn't feel like a workshop or a course or a class. It feels like you are talking to a friend, like someone who's coming alongside you and saying, I know this is hard, but here's some things that maybe we can try that might make this a little bit easier. And I think that's really important for parents, because Sean said it's hard to admit that you're struggling with something, or that a dynamic in your family has become challenging, because it's almost like saying, I don't know what to do here. Like, I'm not good enough to solve this problem on my own. And that's tough. It's tough to make that admission. But you guys have such a kind, gentle way of kind of coming alongside people and saying, we know this is hard. We've been there too. Like, let's figure it out together.
Exactly.
And I think that is an important takeaway, because I know from conversations with Donna Gibson, who is one of your longtime family educators, that there are parents who will call her 5 years, 10 years later to say, thank you so much for what you shared with me, because now my kid is doing this, this, and this.
You know, and I'll just real quick, you know, for our listening audience and viewing audience, you know, if you're a parent or grandparent watching this, just take a second and like almost put your hand up if you've ever struggled with your child, whether it be behavior or whatever it may be.
I don't have 3 hands.
I don't care if your child is 6 months or 25. I promise you, to Kim's point, parenting is a forever job. It's a very rewarding job, but it's also a very challenging job. So how great is it to have somebody in our community who's your advocate, your champion, and or just honestly sometimes a sounding board? Because how many times conversations have you and I swapped parenting stuff?
I call Kim like a lot.
Right, and just be the same. Right?
Sean and I have had plenty of talks.
So sometimes it's just being able to express that and hearing like,
Exactly.
oh, I've been through that, or that's, you know, something similar or whatever. It just makes you realize like, okay, I'm okay,
Yeah.
right, as a parent, right?
It's okay.
And
yeah.
that's a great point, because a lot of parents want to know that. They feel that they're struggling alone, that they're failing their children, they're failing themselves as a parent. And that's the first thing we want to put, aside. If you made that phone call, if you reached out to somebody, you're not failing. That's not a failure. That means you're really, really trying. That means you're really caring. So great. Let's start there.
Let's go.
Let's start
So because we talked about how wonderful it is and that you guys are great friends, if someone is listening and is like, you know what, I think I really could benefit from having that conversation, what's the easiest way for them to get in touch with you, and what expectations do they need to have when they make that phone call?
So we have designed everything to basically have people communicate with us the way they are most comfortable. So we want to remove all barriers. So if you want to text, we have a text line, and it's 772-302-3147. It goes right to a text phone. You get an immediate text back. Or you can call that number. It's also a cell phone. You can call that number, and you will get, a response immediately. If an educator is not available because they are in another place or talking to someone else, they will call you back. Or you can email us, or you can instant message us on Facebook or on Instagram. Any of those ways that you're comfortable, because we know that parents are at work, they're at baseball practice, they're at ballet, they're at swim lessons, and they need to talk when they're having an issue. And that's the other thing. If parents can reach out when the issue is going on, they're going to actually have less stress, and they're going to be more successful in implementing whatever we decide or whatever solutions we come up with.
So can you give out that, I want you to give out that number again. We've done radio for almost 9 years. The only lesson we've learned is make sure you give your numbers out frequently and slow, but give that number out, because I want everybody to write this down, because I promise you, even if your kids don't live here, you know somebody who's a parent or grandparent who at one time said, something is driving me crazy, or I'm stressing about this. These are the people to call.
772-302-3147. And if I may, we also have a website where you can sign up on the website and somebody will contact you back. And that is www, do we still have to do that?
Yeah.
familiesofthetreasurecoast.org.
And of course, you're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, probably some other stuff.
We are as available as we could possibly be. And then also, years ago, we went mobile so that we could be in the neighborhoods that our families are in. So you don't have to worry about trudging across, from Port St. Lucie to Fort Pierce, or from Fort Pierce to Port St. Lucie. If you need us, we can be there virtually. We can be in your neighborhood. We can meet you at a local restaurant, a McDonald's, a Dunkin' Donuts. Whatever it is that you need, that's what we're there to provide.
So I've got my phone out. I'm in the bathroom to get away from my kids.
Yes, been there, done that.
This sounds familiar.
These are all from experiences. And I'm texting you, again, 772.
772-302-3147.
I forgot my pen, so I didn't.
Okay, I was going to say you caught me.
3147.
Yep.
And then I text you and say, help.
Yes.
So what kind of response?
What kind of response would be like, hi, this is Kim. What can I help you with?
Okay.
And then hopefully you'll give me your name. I might have to ask that. And then what is that I can help you with? And then you could blurt it all out, or you can say, call me. You could say whatever you want, because we're real people that have all been through these emotional and stressful situations.
So you're not saying, hey, before we get started, I need you to fill this out. I need your social
Absolutely
security
not.
number. I need your address. You're just like, what's going on?
Because if you're calling me saying help, the last thing you need is paperwork.
Right.
The last thing you need is a government institution saying, I've got to have all this
these
data
things,
first,
yeah.
and then we'll
Right.
talk about your problems. I'm
Right,
sorry.
right.
I'm sure they don't all sound like that. But
As she points to us, the organization that asks for data and all that stuff. I get it.
We do ask for
no,
that, but
but we do get the data, and you
You
know
do.
that.
I'm
We
kidding
do.
you.
But it doesn't have to be at that moment of
Right.
crisis or at that moment of issue, whatever's going on.
Yeah.
It really is one of those things we just integrate into our training.
yeah.
So I know we've already talked about broadly all the wonderful things that you do, classes, individual consultation, all that stuff. And I know you have a story to tell, but you also have
I also
somebody.
have Henry.
Yes.
So with me today is Henry Duhart. He has been with our organization for a little over
Almost 2 years.
Almost
Or a
2
little
years
over 2
now.
years,
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
And he has been successfully running our People Empowering People program. And the reason that I brought Henry on board with us was he really showed tremendous leadership at a very early age as a very young man who did it on his own and did it with not a lot of resources on his own. And I thought, if there's anybody who could really reach out to the young people and reach out to our families, and has that ambition and motivation, it'd be Henry. So I would love to just say that he's done a great job with the program. Our community service projects are amazing. And I just thought he could tell us a little bit about some of our upcoming events.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love that.
What's up, everybody? Yes, that's Henry.
So why don't you start by telling about the White City project that we just did?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the benefits of People Empower People is that we feel if people get more involved, families, uncles, aunties, then they're less likely to have child neglect and child abuse at the home because they feel that they can connect to their community. So we were so excited to be teaching our Redirected Children's Behavior program at White City, and then all of the teachers and staff kept saying they wanted a garden. I teach PEP. And so we got them together, and I don't think, usually what's funny is people usually don't know what it's about till they get to that class. They're thinking there's gonna be something, you know, and people really enjoyed it, and they really wanted this garden to help teach young people responsibility. So the teachers and staff and the principal at White City Elementary took our People Empowering People program, and we were able to partner with Garden with Goo and some other organizations like Children's Service Council and just some community leaders to build 4 garden beds at the campus. So we built them last Friday. If you guys are on social media, you saw Sean was the drill master.
Yes.
And a
Hopefully they hold up.
Hopefully. No, I'm just kidding. And then, you know, Gardner New came out and instructed us because he's a well-known gardener here in the community, and also my brother. And teachers, staff, even just some people from the community ended up coming. Some of the people there were not a part of the class. They just saw it online and came
Which is
and volunteered their
awesome,
time.
Right.
That's amazing.
I thought so, too.
Don't underestimate the fact that people just will get involved
Yeah.
when something is interesting to them.
There's really an impact, and so we did the hand painting yesterday, and then this Friday we'll be doing the dirt, and the young people at Project Lift we work with will come and helping us put the dirt in there, and then on the 27th they'll be planting their first set of seeds and pre-grown plants.
That's so cool.
And now it's in high demand, Children's Service Council, for us to do more garden projects.
Let's talk about the other things
We
first.
talked about that before we went live. As soon as you put it on social media,
So, yeah.
everybody wants it. Yeah.
Everybody.
It was. We got calls
Exactly.
from a lot of schools, seeing more, you know, other schools, you know, Lakewood Park, just people calling us, even teachers, staff members, so that's a blessing. And, but that's just one thing that stemmed from this amazing
And
program.
I do just want to connect that to why I think that the gardening part is obviously about the nutrition and the wellness pieces, but you know, we take a holistic approach to everything we do. And I wanted to look at us coming out of this pandemic. We're missing connections coming out of this pandemic. We're also all struggling with mental health issues, whether that is just stress and anxiety or just needing to be grounded, just needing more wellness in our life. And I would love if this garden project could kind of inspire others to know, you know, playing with plants, nurturing plants, being around nature is all very healthy. And it really does help with that grounding and help with stress. So that was part of the connection with what we were doing too. I'm sorry, but please.
It's really cool. So the garden is just one idea that has come out of a People
just
Empower
one.
PV.
No,
You
we've
have
had
a lot.
Yes. So at the end of each project, as you guys know, so at the end of each program or class, people have to do a community project. So right now I teach and I manage the community project. So outside of that, we also are going to be doing the Juneteenth pageant this year. That stemmed from one of my, I think, September classes or October classes. And we're going to be giving away a grand prize to Mr. and Mrs. Juneteenth. That stemmed from my class. I had just wanted to provide more fun things in the community. Each kid has to do a community project as well to become Mr. and Mrs. Juneteenth. Also, this week, we will be feeding the homeless with the Project Lift kids. We're going to be making about 60 bags of care items, and that stemmed from some of the students and teachers and staff at Project Lift taking our class. We also, of course, are working on the Generational Summit to bring different generations from baby boomers to Gen Zers together to host basically a town hall or workshop of sorts. And then also, we're going to be doing a team basketball camp teaching life skills through basketball techniques. And then, of course, we are one of the sponsors for the MOK Festival next week, and we're going to be just having a good time. And again, thank you to Families Church Coast Inter-Service Council for just allowing us to just be a part of all the community in so many different ways.
So real quick, because the video version of it will air all month, but this show will air, radio show will air on Sunday. MLK is on Monday. So can you give us some of the details so that if somebody's listening, they're like, oh, you got
Let's
it.
say Martin Luther King. So
Okay, Martin Luther King.
Let's say it all,
Thank you, I
right?
appreciate that.
Yes.
Martin Luther King Day.
So I am the chair for the MLK Festival, and I've been on the committee for about 4 years. So the festival itself will not be it will not be at the stadium this year. We moved it to more inside of the community. Our goal for the last couple of years is to be more inside of the community near the actual parade. Where people feel, a little more in Fort Pierce in our area. So it's going to be at actually Inc. Center, which is the old Means Court facility.
Okay.
This year. The parade will start at its usual time. Like I said, I am the chair for that. So even if you see this Sunday and like, hey, I want to be in the parade or be in the festival, you can just hit me up online. We'll get you signed up within 24 hours.
Careful what you have to
So.
It is a really cool. I've been able to participate in the parade several years through my kids, through their school involvement, and it really is just it's a huge show of support in our community. And I love that connection to people empowering people, because I think your point that you made at the beginning, getting people involved in their community, getting them to understand the struggles that our community is having and ways that they might be able to support those things. We talk about it all the time about our kids. Getting our kids involved in those things makes them feel more connected, but the same is true for the adults that live here too. And so getting them connected to these projects and bettering their community makes them more invested. It makes them better residents. It makes them better citizens. And
builds their confidence.
it builds, so many things.
It builds upon their successes, their confidence as parents, and then each one of them actually leaves knowing the resources in the community, and that's impactful to their peers. So when they leave this program, they're like, oh, I know about Children's Services Council. I know about after-school programs now.
Well, and to their kids too, because they're now modeling that behavior for their children. And
Exactly.
so it's, for years to come, that makes a difference.
Yep.
So we have a couple minutes left on the show. Going to remind everybody that you can go to their website, familiesofthetreasurecoast.org, to find out all their events that are going on. But you had a story to tell.
I do.
And I've been waiting to hear this story. You got 2 minutes.
I think this 2 minutes. Okay, well that never ever. But I just felt that this story really summarized what we can do for a family. So I've been working with this father for a while. Haven't talked to him for several weeks because really there haven't been any, issues at home. There's not a big struggle between the families, the dynamics in the family. Father calls me one morning and he says, do you have time to talk? Of course I have time to talk. I always have time to talk. So he's telling me we had a terrible time last night. My 7-year-old wouldn't make his bed, and he said at night, my 7-year-old wouldn't make his bed, big struggle ensued. I got upset, he got upset. I ended up spending my night in the room feeling that he had disrespected me, was not following my rules. He said I spent hours in the room just watching him have these meltdowns and crying, and I said, okay, all right. So then he said, well, he won't do his chores in the morning. I feel like he can't get his chores done. He's not following it. Okay, so I listened. And after that, I said, well, let me ask a couple questions. First, let's talk about the chore chart, because that sets up our day, right? That's how we start our day. That's what he was explaining to me. So I said, send me a picture of the chore chart. The chore chart had like 15 items on it. And then at the bottom had like 30 other things that could be magnetically put into these items. And I looked at this picture and I said, well, first, if I could just say, I would be overwhelmed as an adult looking at this chore chart. As a 7-year-old, I can't imagine. And I said, so what does he get for his chores? And he says, well, at 250 stars, which is what he got for each chore, he gets a video game that he wants. And I said, well, how many stars does he have? Like 20. I said, so how long has this been going on? Like 4 months. I said, well, he hasn't had any success to build upon his successes. So let's bring all this back down. So let's take all these things off the chore chart. Let's shorten down the chore chart. I said, and then the other thing, let's pick our battles. Why are we making our bed at 8 o'clock at night when he's just gonna turn around and get back into it? And then I, obviously I pointed out, let's look at our emotions. How did we deal with this? What did it make you feel like? Was it necessary that you were angry all night long over this? So I'm trying to shorten my story. You see I'm going really fast. So I gave some other pointers on the chore chart. Next day he calls me back It worked. I said, what do you mean? So I told him to separate the chore charts, hygiene stuff, put in the bathroom, the chores you really want done, 2-step instructions, pick up the garbage, take out the garbage. Easy enough, right? He did everything, and he was sitting in front of the TV ready to go to school this morning. He was eating his breakfast, he washed his face, he was so excited. And he said, we had such a better day.
Yeah.
And I was like, but it was just the small things that were missing, just little tools, little tips that made such an incredible difference in just that day.
Thank you, Kim and Henry, for coming on. Remember, Families of the Treasure Coast, 772-302-3147. 3147.
I'm
Look at that.
impressed.
Look at that.
Thank you for tuning in. A reminder that it's a weekly radio program every Sunday at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Flame. And as always, it's our children, our community, our future. We're all in this together, folks. We'll see you next time.